Hello, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, in whatever time zone in the world you may be tuning in right now. So, whether you're chilling on your bed, you are dodging responsibility, or you're just vibing to life chaos, I want to say welcome to yet another episode of Behind the Veil. So, yeah, this is a new week, this is a new episode. So, how you guys doing? I hope you're living in the moment. I hope you are enjoying the moment. I hope you are trusting God and trusting His timing for you. So, yeah, I hope you're fine. So, irrespective of what you may be going through, I want you to know that God has got your back. Right? So, come on. The Lord who has helped you thus far will keep helping you. That is certain and that is for sure. So this is another new episode, and it just blows my mind how far we've come. Might just be, I think, just 5 episodes right now. This is the 5th episode, but it's important to know. I believe that this podcast has been a contribution of value to you, and yes, and I sometimes think about it, and I'm like, some of us or some of you rather come here to listen to me speak, and despite the fact that we started with a series, it's also looking at all of these stuffs and thinking about all of these stuffs. I'm not just in a way dishing out information, but it's also impacting my own life. So when I want to make a decision, for example, and I'm not saying this because I want to flatter you or whatnot, but I'm saying this because it's actually true. Now I have to settle down. I have to think, what is God's plan? Is it God's time for me to take that decision? And yes, to be very honest, timing is much more than we think it is. Has more impact, or much more than we think it does, right? Because it affects everything that has to do with us. So I remember when I started, I was like, oh, what is timing? When I spoke about various times, when I spoke about the chronological time, when I talk about maximizing the moment in terms of preparation, when we moved together and we looked at how timing is not necessarily about the ideal moment, but has to do with God's timing, right? Timing is attached to purpose and not necessarily the ideal moment. Then how God is big, then looking at God as the source. Okay, God is our source. So if God is our source and we are looking at timing, and our mind cannot fully comprehend how big and vast God is, and He is our source, then that means whatever steps He's telling us to take is going to obviously something that beats our imagination, something that it beats our expectations, even when it comes to acting. And then looking at everything that was said and how, in a way, societal expectations influence our decision-making process, and it in a way has a conflict with timing. Looking at all of these stuffs, it's something I've been thinking, and to be very, 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 very honest with you, even me that is right now sitting and even speaking to all you guys, is what I'm like, is what a lot of this stuff is worth listening to over and over again. I'm not saying this because I'm the host, obviously, but I'm saying this to myself because timing impacts every areas of our lives. Timing affects us in ways that we can't even possibly imagine. And even the funniest thing is the consequences of timing, okay, of not adhering to timing, not just affects us but also affects other people. Okay, it rubs off on other people, it rubs off on our colleagues, it rubs off on our friends, and most often than not, it rubs off on people we have been called to serve. That is our generation, because I believe that no one is born empty. Each and every one of us have got one or two assignments, and when we in a way delay God's timing for our lives because we are waiting for the ideal time, waiting for the in quotes perfect moment, there are people somewhere that may be suffering because we have refused to take a stand, we have refused to rise in destiny, we have refused to act out in faith. So there are people that would be suffering at some point. I'm sure you all get what I'm saying, right? So last episode was has to do with societal expectation and cultural expectation, and I decided to build upon it right now to talk about internal pressure in decision making. Right, I want us to crack it open because it's something that we all have struggled with, and if we admit it, some of us, maybe you that are listening to it right now, may be struggling with it right now. So more or less, like I will term the topic internal pressure when it comes to decision making. Okay, so let's be honest. I want you to be honest with yourself, and let's be honest with ourselves at this point. So how many times have you felt that you had to make a move because time is running out? Your decision was based on time is running out in quotes, so I need to get this thing done because there's no time again. And let's be real, okay? The loudest voice that is influencing our decision making at every point in time, is it necessarily from the society, or is it necessarily impacted by culture, or from our families, from our friends? It is from within us, right? And when this pressure, internal pressure, meets decision making, it directly impacts timing. It is either for better or it is either for worse. Okay, so this conversation is what I want us to have. This topic is what I want us to look into. Okay, so when it comes to internal pressure, what is that thing that is affecting each and every one of us, right? So what does internal pressure look like? So how does it even impact timing when it comes to decision making? These are important questions that I want us to form the basis of whatever we'll be saying here today. Okay, so believe it or not, internal pressure is that emotional, psychological, or even spiritual tension we place ourselves in. So unlike external pressure that comes from the society, external pressure that comes from our culture, that has to do with expectations or even their timelines, internal pressure originates from within us. It is shaped by our personal values, it is shaped by our ideologies, sometimes it is shaped by the environment we all grew up in, right? Sometimes it is shaped by ambition. In a way, it is shaped by past experiences sometimes, and internal pressure is in a way annoying because it is that nagging feeling, okay, that you have to do something, you have to be something, or you have to achieve something at a certain time. So many of the timelines that you put into your life is not necessarily from the society. Just like I've said, that the timelines are just from you. I need to achieve this at a certain age, I need to be this at a certain time. So I'm sure you get what I'm saying. So is that feeling is nagging and it's quite very annoying, like I've said. So unlike external pressure, this one is self-inflicted. It's that little voice that is whispering into your ears, whispering from within you, you should have been far ahead by now, you should have been this, you should have been that, you should have done this, you could have done that. So it is self-inflicting. And while having a research on this, while conducting a research on this, a study that has been published in the Journal of Behavioral Decision Making found that internal pressure isn't just something that is in your head, okay? It physically affects your brain. So when you feel pressure, the stress center of the brain goes into overriding. As a result of that, it leads to something which is known as the fight or flight response, right? So this makes you feel like you have to act quickly or you risk failing. So meanwhile, your the logic center of the brain, tries to step in and restore order. That is more or less like the checkpoint, trying to restore order. But at that point, you become overwhelmed. So it's like trying to think straight right in the midst of a tornado. So you are in the midst of a tornado, you're trying to think straight. My goodness. So how is that even possible? So the result is that it leads to decision paralysis. Okay, so either the rash decision or the total decision, whatever you're doing, something that you're probably acting based on impulse, it leads to decision paralysis. And this is something that each and every one of us are suffering with. And even when going through the journal, right, when going through the research, they said that there are common types of internal pressure. They listed quite a few, and one of the things that was stated is that perfectionism has a part to play. So in other words, there is a need to meet high standard. There is a need for you to have everything figured out even before you start. And if you want to figure out stuff right before you even commence, what then is the point or the essence of faith? If you have to figure out everything yourself, if you have to figure out your next move, if you have to just, you get what I'm saying, figure out stuff before you begin rather, what then is the essence of faith? So what then are we talking about faith? Because when it comes to faith, you many times you wouldn't, not even many times, all the times you wouldn't know the next step, but you're just going. You wouldn't even have a logical explanation as to why you are doing what you're doing, as to why you are going to where you are going, as to why you are obeying God, right? But you are just taking the steps, you're just going. So perfectionism is one thing that triggers internal pressure within us. So another one again, which is quite common, especially to we young people, is comparison syndrome. That was what was stated in the journal. And it means, of course, we all know what that means. Comparing yourself with others. So the leading, or you're having this feeling of inadequacy and common when on social media. And even looking at LinkedIn, for example, and I'm sure many of us we understand that we can relate to what that means. That you're coming on LinkedIn and you're like seeing certain posts like, I've just got a job, and you're going to some people's profile and you're like, hey Jesus, what am I doing with my life? You get what I'm saying? Like, what am I doing with my life? Going at people's LinkedIn, and you're like, oh my God, looking at their post, I just got a job, I am at this place, I am at that place, and you're looking at this person, maybe in terms of age, maybe much more older than that person, or you guys are even contemporaries. And like, at what point did this person achieve this thing? And look at what this person is doing. Look at what the job he has gotten. Comparison setting in a way, and that can influence, or that can propel internal pressure in you. That can propel internal pressure in me, and that can be very disastrous because you are comparing your life with other people. Oh, I should have been there by now. I should have been this. I should have been that. I should have achieved this. All of this stuff is a pointer, or is one of the things that influences or that stands as the basis for internal pressure. And another thing is imposter syndrome. My goodness, especially when you are a creative. So low key, you are convinced that you are faking it. Low key, you are convinced that you are not good enough in your job, despite the fact that many people praise you for what you are doing. Probably a graphic designer, you are a baker, you probably a content creator, and you're like, oh my God, people are going to find out I'm not this good enough. You don't apply for jobs, you don't put yourself out there. Why? Because of imposter syndrome, and you are doubting your abilities and feeling unworthy of success, despite the fact that you've achieved so many things. And many a times, even when we achieve so many things and many people bring it to our notice, we downplay it, and in a way we think that is humility, but that is also a result of imposter syndrome. Okay, So, like, all of these things are pointers, all of these things are foundations that triggers internal pressure within us. Okay, so if we look at all of these stuffs, there's also something that mixes with it, which is self-imposed deadlines, self-imposed timelines. Okay, placing arbitrary timeline on your life, on events such as career, relationships, or even personal growth, and something that we tempt by this age timeline. So thinking by so and so time I should be married, by so and so time I should be rich, by so and so time I should be thriving. Okay, I shouldn't be at this spot at the age of 25. Looking back now, you are 26, you're 27, you're 28, and it seems as though you are barely surviving. My God, it seems as though you are barely surviving, and that places pressure within you, internal pressure. So the pressure is not coming from outside, it's not coming from friends, it's not coming from family, it's not coming from your culture, but it's coming from within us because of the self-imposed timeline that we have placed upon ourselves. Okay, and this made me remember a story of someone who landed a dream job at the age of 25. Okay, so she worked her way to the corporate ladder. Of course, she deserved her flowers. So at some point in time, as a result of what she has done, right, she want to be a CEO at the age of 30. So she worked non-stop, 24 hours, beating deadlines, being a leader of several projects, said yes to everything, and ignored every feeling within her that tells her slow down. Because come on, by so doing, your relationship is suffering. By so doing, many people are like, you just going like on the express, you're just moving, boom, nothing else again, just going. So it at some point, of course, the inevitable happened. She was exhausted, she was burnt out and completely lost. And what does that in a way shows us? I got from that story that timing matters more than speed. Of course, speed is necessary. When it comes to speed, direction is necessary. But when you place all of these factors together and you place it alongside timing, it is important that we note that timing is much more important or matters more than speed. Timing matters more than direction. Okay, I'm not downplaying direction, God forbid. I'm not downplaying speed, because when you have speed and you have direction, trust me, you are in the advantage. But timing matters much more than it. So if she had paused and reassessed her life, reassessed everything around her, she would have realized something, that come on, timing matters. You're just where you need to be. At some point, you just need to take a breather and say, I am just where I need to be. Okay, so even when we are looking at the scriptural perspective, for example, in what way can internal pressure stem from? And I've sat down and I realized that, which I want to share with you guys, that sometimes that internal pressure comes as a result of pride. Like, there's this desire within us to prove ourselves to others. There's this desire, and unconsciously we're even proving ourselves to God. Okay, that pride does have a way of influencing, like creating this internal pressure within us, and we have no idea. And another thing that plays a major role is lack of trust in God. You're not trusting God, you're not trusting His timing, you're not trusting the process. So due to your self-imposed timeline, you're just moving. In other words, you are self-sufficient and you just go. I need to be this, I have to be that. And in a way, we are placing pressure on ourselves. So internal pressure often creates a disconnect from what we want and what we need. Okay, it pushes us sometimes, or many at times, to act prematurely. And in a way, internal pressure can also hold us back when the time is right. So looking at all of these stuff now, looking at all of the things I've shared, how does internal pressure affect timing in decision making? How does it even affect how you make decisions? Okay, so like we've stated time and again, Timing is critical when it comes to decision making. Okay, timing is critical when it comes to decision making, and internal pressure acts in both ways. Internal pressure affects um timing in decision making, right? And it comes in two ways. Either you are acting too soon, that is prematurely, or you are delaying. That's what internal pressure does. It's either of the two. Either you are acting prematurely, which is sometimes driven by fear, by guilt, or even comparison. You begin to make decisions even before you are ready. You begin to make decisions before you are prepared. For example, you make a decision because you feel like you are left behind. Oh, my goodness, my friend Toby has left me. Oh, Tolu has left me. Look at Tolu, look at Toby, look at Nkechi, look at their lives, and you feel as though you are left behind, right? And like you just act impulsively. And another one that's what we are looking at. Another example is entering a relationship because everyone else is in a relationship and you are rushing into it because of the fear of being alone. Of course, being in love is a legitimate desire, okay? And each and every one of us crave to have our person. Is legitimate. But this example made me remember a story that happened years ago of somebody that was in a relationship, not because he loved the lady in question, but because his best friend or the person he was close to at that point in time was in a relationship. And you can only imagine and funny enough, looking at the story, looking at what happened, because it's somebody I know well. Not that he treated the lady badly, not that there were any conflict, whatnot. As a matter of fact, that could have been, I think that was one of the most sweetest relationship the person, both of them, must have even had. Or maybe I'm sorry for the assumption, but at least there were no fight. Maybe they had issues at some point. There were no issues, but the said guy did not have feelings for the lady, but he was just in it just to pass away time. Not necessarily to pass away time, but because his friend was in a relationship. That alone is a function of internal pressure, because you are not finding fulfillment in being alone. You're not finding fulfillment in timing, in trusting God's timing. At the end of the day, the inevitable happened. The lady who was in love had her heart broken at some point because the guy was like, oh, I'm not doing this again. That is the result of internal pressure. Internal pressure, jumping into a relationship because, oh, my friend's in a relationship. Many of you are even saying yes, or you are getting engaged because everyone is getting engaged. Believe it or not, each year single people always suffer, in quotes, always suffer based on social media, because there is always something somewhere to pepper you. People are in their relationship are always peppering those of us that are not in relationship. And sometimes when you go to social media, there would always be a point in time, sometimes like in a space of a month, 2 months, you see pictures, you see videos of people saying yes, proposal videos, relationships, and single people are not resting. So even the birth of Jesus now, everybody has hijacked it. They are now seeing pajamas everywhere. Like, this is the birth of Jesus, so people of God. Now people have hijacked it, and we're not seeing pajamas. And now you may start to feel pressure that me too, I want to have my own person. Me too, I want to snap picture in pajamas. Me too, I want to have this. Me too, I want to have that. And you have no idea that internal pressure is playing out just like that, and you have absolutely no idea. Okay, so I'm sure every one of us can relate to what I'm saying. And another thing, yes, I just remembered, another thing that would influence our lives, that also act as a foundation for internal pressure, is saying yes to every opportunity because of the fear of missing out. The fear of missing out. So a study from psychological science found out that impulsive decisions made under stress lead to higher level of regret. Why? because you're in a rush, you just acted prematurely. Your brain isn't processing the full picture. It's more or less like you are reacting and not reasoning. Okay, you're reacting, you're acting impulsively. And remember, I said earlier on, looking at all of this stuff. So remember, I said earlier on that internal pressure would either make you act impulsively or makes you delay an action. Okay, so of course, this is like delaying an action is more like the flip side. So internal pressure can lead to indecision or it leads to procrastination. You are overthinking until the opportunity passes you by. You saw it to apply for a job, you are like you are not fully ready. Spoiler alert, you cannot be 100% ready. And this job is our dream job. This job would obviously propel us to take, that will grant us significant boost in our career, but yet we feel we are not ready, we do not have the necessary expertise, we do not have the necessary skills to apply for this job, I am not 100% ready. And not just that, even when it comes to having a business idea, you are not taking action, you feel it's not yet perfect yet, and you are not shooting your shot, whatnot, you are not doing anything because you feel you are not ready, you feel you are not perfect yet, you feel like internal pressure plays a role in all of this stuff. Even when it comes to shooting shots, business shots, relationship shots, or your fear within you is screaming, what if I fail? But have you sat down to ask yourself, what if I succeed? Okay, what if I succeed? And I read a statement sometimes that says, what you are looking for is at the other side of fear. And that is absolutely true, because fear has a way of crippling us. Fear has a way of doing so much more than we can even at some point we can't even imagine. Okay, so you are hasting to pursue your passion, you are hasting to pursue or start that project because you feel you are not good enough. Many a times we've heard stories. I don't know if you've heard a story, but I have heard a story of people who are probably God gave them something to do, gave them a vision, gave them a task, gave them something like a huge project to do, and they sat down on it for years. Some they refuse to take action on it. So by the time they finally had the courage to act, to take that steps, they just find out somewhere that someone else has done it. And sometimes many of us may not even add but we were not even taking the step yet. We're just there, sitting down, but we just start scrolling through social media. We don't know why we are on social media at that point in time. Just keep scrolling. Then all of a sudden you see a post that has to do with everything that God has told you to do that you have not done. And you'll be like, as in write everything from the thing to the topic to the project. It's like everything word for word. You're like, this is what God told me to do, and yet this is somebody else doing the exact same thing, and all of a sudden you become crushed. So not because you didn't take the step, not because you didn't have the talent, and sometimes you didn't take the step not because of anything, but because you are feeling inadequate. Okay, but fear in a way has kept you down on the sideline for too long, and somebody else took it and ran with it. So either ways, internal pressure is running the show and not you. Internal pressure just showed you shaggy. So all of these stuff play a role in it. And another thing that I think that could also be a foundation for internal pressure is avoiding important conversations because you are afraid of confrontation. Okay, so in both cases, internal pressure disrupts the internal flow of timing. So either you are speeding up or you are slowing it down. So I want us to look at the biblical what would I put it down? Biblical insights. Let us look at scriptural insights that has to do with internal pressure. So how can we manage internal pressure? Looking at it from the lens of the scripture. Okay, how can we do well? How can we attack this stuff? How can we, yes, I use the word attack, but how can we manage it? Looking at it from the biblical standpoint. Okay, and so internal pressure often stems from trying to control outcomes rather than trusting God. Okay, like I said, it's the way it shows pride. It shows we have pride. Okay, and we are trying to control outcomes. We are trying to know what's the next thing. We are trying to have everything figured out. These are just trusting God. And the scripture offers a roadmap for navigating this tension. And what is even the roadmap? First thing is surrendering to God's timing. That is very important. That is like the first steps. The first, very, 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 very first step. Like looking at it from the scriptures, Proverbs 3, verse 5 to 6, where it says, trust the Lord with the whole of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So in all your ways, submit to Him and He will direct your paths. So what does that mean? What's even the translation of that statement? It means very simple, that instead of pressuring yourself to figure everything out, why not let God guide your steps? Let God set the pace. So stop thinking you have to have the whole plan. There must be a map for you to have the whole plan, like in a way known as GPS or Google Map that shows you where you're going to. Like in a way you see, of course, you see the road, the direction. When it comes to timing, it doesn't play like that. Okay, let God be the one to handle the GPS while you trust Him with every fiber of your being. So you won't be making U-turns at every 5 seconds. You won't be like acting impulsively. You won't be even slowing down, because God is the one that is handling the steering. God is the one that is showing you the way you should go. And another thing that would help you deal with internal pressure is when you seek peace over perfection. Okay, when you seek peace over perfection, and I can't stress this enough. Seek peace over perfection. The Bible was speaking in the book of Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 to 7. It said, be anxious for nothing, but in everything with prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your requests known unto God. Right? So, and the peace of God will guide your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. So, peace and not pressure is the hallmark of God's guidance. When it comes to divine leading, when it comes to God holding your hands, the hallmark is not pressure. There will never be pressure, but peace from within. Even when it seems that what God is telling you to do requires haste, you won't do it out of pressure. You will still have peace while undertaking that task. You will still have peace while holding God's hands. So peace is the hallmark of God's guidance. So even when it feels like as though you are running out of time, so God's time comes with peace, not anxiety. So if you are forcing something out, or it feels like as though you are rushing, like there's this pressure, like you want to make it work out, it could be two things. One, it's not yet time, and two, which I believe is number one, is that you don't trust God, and that is a symptom of pride. Okay, so when you are acting out of anxiety, it means you don't trust God, and that is a symptom of pride. Okay, and even looking at it from another direction, looking at it from another point. So internal pressure, where it arises from the feeling of you not being good enough. And Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10 reminds us that we are God's masterpiece, created with purpose. The journey is yours, not a race that against somebody else. You're not racing against somebody else. You're not racing against time, so to speak. Your journey is uniquely yours. Your worth isn't based on what you would achieve. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Okay, so I want us to look at practical steps to undo internal pressure. So just in case you feel pressured, I want you to take a moment and pray. At any point in time when you are feeling pressure to do anything, at any point in time where you feel you are not good enough, at any point in time where you feel you are not where you need to be, at any point in time where you feel this is not the kind of life you want for yourself, this is not the kind of what you are experiencing now, is not what you would have envisioned yourself to experience, right? Before making any decision, before acting impulsively, even before procrastinating, take a moment to reflect and invite God into the process. Ask for God's mind on that situation. Ask for wisdom. Ask for clarity. Okay? And it's also important that even as you journey in life, you distinguish between desire and pressure. Okay? Are you acting out of genuine desire, or you are acting because of the internal expectation you have of yourself? Like, are you acting based on genuine desire? Are you acting based on, I need to be there, I have to be this, I have to be that? It's important that we are sincere with ourselves, because in the journey of life, sincerity is key. Sincerity is key. It is key. Like, even with our relationship with God, sincerity is key. Be sincere. Be sincere. Okay? And remember, life is a journey, and growth is part of the journey. Okay? We are not in a race, we are in a journey. Right? You are not in a race, you are in a journey. And when it comes to growth, mistakes are permitted. I know they are costly mistakes and the likes, but we have the one who hold our answer, help us. Okay? That we know that mistakes are part of the journey. You must make mistakes at some point in time. But when you do, dust yourself up. You are not the first to make mistakes, you wouldn't be the last. And sometimes we are making mistakes due to our level of, would I use the word, due to the stage we are in life. And it is expected that everyone in that stage would make such mistakes. Okay? You would make mistakes. And it is part of growth, it is part of journey. That when you look back, you realize that those mistakes in a way helped you even to make a decision that even making a decision that you are about to make. I don't know if that is correct. If that statement I just made is correct, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Right? So mistakes are part of the process. So instead of beating yourself up, learn from them and move on. Trust God. Trust His timing. Right? Trust His timing. So in closing, I like to say this, that internal pressure can be a double-edged sword. Okay? This is important to admit that while it can motivate us to strive for greatness, it can also lead to rushed or delayed decision when left unchecked. The key is that we must learn to balance ambition with timing, balancing ambition with trusting the process. No one is saying we shouldn't be ambitious, but we must learn to balance it with God's timing. It is important that we balance it with God's timing, because God's timing is perfect. Life isn't about getting everything right. It's about growing through the journey. You wouldn't get everything right. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. So if you are feeling overwhelmed by the weight of expectations, your own expectations, take a deep breath. Let it go. Trust God that you are exactly where you need to be. Okay? Is it internal pressure? It is very real. And you must first admit that you are under pressure. Please, the pressure coming from you. But it doesn't have to own you. It doesn't have to run the show. It doesn't have to show you premium shige. Instead of letting it speed you up or even slow you down, why not trust God's timing and let wisdom guide you? So take a deep breath. You are exactly where you need to be. Trust God. Trust His timing. Trust Him with the whole of your life, because God is worth trusting. Okay? So if you trust God, what's the worst that could happen? Sometimes just sit down and ask yourself. Of course, trusting God, even in the journey of life, can in a way come with a level of shame from people, to be like, what's wrong with you? This is what your life has become. Can even come with a level of harassment, come with a level of insults, curses, and the likes. But at the end of it all, it pays to follow God. At the end of it all, it pays to trust God with your life. It pays to trust God with your life. So I'll say it again. Trust God. Trust His timing. If you are feeling pressured, please take a time to pray. It is important that you pray. I can't stress this enough. It might seem as though I'm repeating myself, but that I just want us to know the efficacy of it. So please please and please trust God, trust His timing. Take a deep breath and pray at every decision making points of your life, especially if you are feeling pressured. Do not act out of pressure, right? Do not act out of pressure. So thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for listening to this young man talk to you today. So I'm grateful to have you. I'm grateful. I'm honored that you stay to this point to listen to this episode. I'm sure this particular episode of a truth has contributed immensely to you and it has helped you. So I pray God helps you just in case you are feeling pressured, just in case you don't know what to do, just in case you want to trust God. I want to say this again. I pray God helps you. I pray God deliver you from that set from those expectations you placed on yourself that's making you act. Of course, I know you are ambitious, but I trust God to help you. So the deliverance I'm speaking of is a deliverance of light. That God will give you light. God would help you trust Him more. I pray that God would help you. God would help you. So until the next episode again, and I hope you stick around. So till then, I want to say, keep learning, keep trusting God, keep embracing growth, keep leaning into His grace. So till then, to the next episode that's coming up next week, do enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye.